What's going on, Fantasy Alarm Nation? My name is Justin Fensterman, along with Ryan Hallam and Matt Selz. Time for another family meetup. It's the Family Times podcast here on fantasyalarm.com. To the divisional round of the NFL playoffs we go. Baseball starting to warm up. Basketball in full season. Here we are right now in January. Guys, how are you? Ryan, look at that. The 49ers, they survived the threatening Seahawks right there.
Hey, I sweat a little bit for a half. Got a text from Mr. Selz about halfway through, but yeah, things went as they should have in the second half, and it was a walk away as expected.
How you doing, Selz? What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, we got ice instead of snow, so that's disappointing because the kids were off yesterday, and couldn't go outside because it was ice. Not snow, so no building a snowman, no building an iceman, just avoiding the roads at all costs. Because Lincoln drivers can't drive under normal circumstances, let alone with like 0.2 of an inch of ice. So yeah, we're good. Ramping up baseball coverage. There's a new MLB podcast dropping probably Thursday. So if you're listening to this, the MLB podcast is already out, so go check that out. Colby and I talked about some interesting stuff in that pod as we gear up for fantasy baseball.
Yeah, Tommy Pham for my Mets. What are your quick thoughts about that?
Don't join fantasy football teams.
make a bunch of drama in the Mets clubhouse because of that. Damn, I didn't even think about that. Now I'm you can only get so excited about the addition, but now I'm a little bit nervous there. I don't want chemistry messed with.
I mean, the fact that the Red Sox think that Adam Duvall could play center field is a little baffling to me. I'd rather roll with Jarren Duran and let him figure his bat out than put a guy who basically needs a walker to get around the clubhouse out in center field.
Speaking of someone who needs a walker who is in locker rooms here, Tom Brady gets eliminated. And I went back and forth when making our predictions that we had out on fantasyalarm.com on how we think the playoffs would roll. I had Dallas in there for a while. Then I switched to Tampa Bay after thinking about it a little bit more. But Tampa Bay, they just couldn't get anything going. And it was just Tom Brady, that pick in the end zone. I'm like, dude, what are you doing out there? Are you on the take? Seriously, such a stupid pass for this guy, and they just looked lifeless. Dallas completely held them down.
He might be on the take because he needs to make money back for that FTX lawsuit that he's now involved in, because that crashed and burned. But go ahead there, Hallam.
Well, I mean, just going to say that you and I said this a few weeks ago. He's shot. He's completely shot. He threw more balls into the ground than he did to receivers' hands. I mean, it's done. I don't know if he's going to end up somewhere else next year, but I see, where's Tom Brady? Like, it's a positive. I mean, the guy's done. He's done. He just needs to go away. I know he probably doesn't want to go out like that. I bet you he'd wish they didn't get that onside kick so his last pass could have been a touchdown, but he had to go back out there and embarrass himself for 3 more downs. But it's just I don't know if he just didn't want to be out there, but I mean, he threw more balls 5 feet short than actually online to a receiver. So I'm not surprised at all Dallas rolled them.
Yeah, I know he said he wants to play till he's 50, but there's no way he's making it. Like, the only way he makes it is if he goes talk to Boston Dynamics and get himself one of those crazy Android robots we've seen all over our Twitter timelines for like 3 days that were doing parkour and all that crazy shit. Like, there's no way no team should want this guy.
He wouldn't. You guys don't think that he'd be cool with a backup role if his
goal
is to really
no.
play? I mean, look, if his goal is to really play till 50, then he might as well check the box, right?
I don't want that guy as a backup because he's going to be like. Here's the problem with him as a backup. You remember the Tebow mania?
I try to forget about that.
Imagine if you have a 7-time Super Bowl winner sitting on your bench, and the first pass of the year is incomplete. People are going to go, put Brady in. Like, there's no way. Like, even Zach Wilson's give him hell quote won't stand up, right? Like, that won't stand up regardless of who comes in because Zach Wilson sucks. But, like, I for whoever you're a fan of the team, I wouldn't want him. And if you're a Raiders fan, you better hope to God they don't get Brady and kick out Carr, because I'd still rather take Carr than Brady.
Oh, they're kicking out Carr.
They are kicking out Carr,
Yes,
but if the choice is keep Carr because you can't find a trade partner and you don't want to eat the $40 million in dead cap, I'd rather do that than sign Tom Brady.
Ryan, question for you, man. The Cowboys doing what they did against Tampa, does that make you as a 49ers fan a little bit nervous as the 49ers are favored by 3.5 points at this time of this podcast here? Are you nervous about Dallas coming in?
No, I'm not even a little bit. Everyone was excited how they beat the crap out of the Buccaneers last week. Tampa was 6-8, I believe, or 6-9, 7-9, whatever it was, losing record in a terrible division, by the way, with the Panthers and Saints and Falcons, and they still had a losing record. 2 weeks ago, Dallas was the laughing stock of the league as they coughed up Week 18 to the Commanders. So, and not to mention their recent past in the playoffs is pretty, I wouldn't call it positive, including the inability to kick a field goal to try to beat the 49ers last year. I think San Francisco, I don't think the Dallas is ready for the pass rush. Brock Purdy continues to roll. I have no fear of the Cowboys whatsoever.
By the way, when the Cowboys kicking woes and bad luck started is when everybody started remembering that Tony Romo fumbled the snap on a extra point in a playoff game against Seattle X number of years ago. And then since then, they lost Week 18 against the Commanders and then missed 4 extra points in a game for the first time ever in NFL history. So
guy made over 94% of his extra points.
I mean, this is just a bad day.
It's a bad day, but I mean, that's the kind of thing that could snowball. I mean, Chuck Knobloch, Rick Ankiel, and
he could definitely get in what baseball we would call the yips. That could just, I don't know. I've seen pitchers just not be able to find the strike zone all of a sudden, and it ruins their career. Right? This guy might be a mental thing he can't get over. We'll have to see.
He finally made the last one, and I think he made a field goal. But yeah, that was they're concerned enough that they're bringing in other people.
I mean, yeah, the fact that they're carrying a second kicker going into a playoff game as opposed to somebody else either on offense or defense or special teams is not a great sign for the Cowboys. So I'm with Ryan. I think there's just too many weapons for San Fran. Too many different ways they use them between Debo and Ayuk and Elijah Mitchell and McCaffrey, and Purdy doesn't make mistakes, and not to mention the defense. Dallas's defense has gotten a lot of praise. San Francisco's is that much more elite. It's not even close.
They are the best defense in football overall,
yes,
right?
Statistically, they were the best defense.
Statistically, yeah.
That's what I
just
thought.
from eye test, I think you'd have to say that too. I mean, they're the Bills are pretty solid, the Eagles are solid too, but I'd give it to the Niners. They're just better.
I haven't checked the latest in the last few weeks, but there was a time where they weren't even allowing running backs to rush for 50 yards against them, or it was 60 yards or something like that. Everyone was getting bottled up.
So right now, according to I'm doing the NFL game previews for this week, which will also be out Thursday. The Niners defense ranks first in points allowed in terms of the lowest, allowed the least amount of yards per game, the second fewest rushing yards per game, the second fewest rushing yards per attempt, and the least amount of fantasy points to running backs in half PPR formats. So
it's pretty much going to come down to Brock Purdy then, if he starts making mistakes and everything like that.
Oh, and number 1 in total DVOA for the Niners defense. So,
Ryan, who do you want starting at quarterback for the 49ers next season?
How about Tom Brady?
Definitely not Tom. Definitely not Tom. I mean, I want Brock Purdy. I mean, I don't. Listen, I know they spent a 3rd overall pick on Trey Lance. I know they traded a bunch to get him. But, I mean, this guy is running the system like gangbusters, and everyone's, he's a system quarterback. Well, he's running it better than anyone else. I mean, he's had multiple touchdowns in 7 straight games. He's won 7 straight games. Beat Tampa Bay, beat Miami, beat Seattle twice. I know those aren't all fantastic teams, but it's not like he just mopped up the floor of the worst of football. And, it wasn't a great first half against Seattle. Sure, he made a few errant throws, nothing crazy.
It was better than Trevor Lawrence's first half.
Yes, much better than Trevor Lawrence's 4-interception performance. But, yeah, I mean, it sucks for Lance for this to happen, but there's no possible way they can go away from Purdy after this, and I don't think they will, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's that old adage that you shouldn't lose your spot due to an injury, but the Niners proved it previously, when Alex Smith got injured, and then they turned to, Mr. Firebrand now, and he took him to the Super Bowl, and then he got the job the following year. I'm with you. I think Trey Lance should take, the Antoine Randall route if we're going, diving for names from 15.
Terrell Pryor.
Well, I mean, Antoine Randall had a better pro career than
Right.
Terrell Pryor.
Right,
So
but I'm just saying that Terrell Pryor is another example of that.
Yeah, we get, the I'm mainly a rushing quarterback, which works in college. So turn me into a wide receiver route, right?
I never thought about that, to be honest.
I mean, you keep him, right? You can run jet sweeps with him. You can put him out there. Sure, he's not built like a wide receiver, but he's already rehabbing. So just, have him add a little bit more muscle, and then you have a third wide receiver.
I just think if he had done anything in his limited playing time, it might be more of a discussion. But, I mean, and it's not all his fault. I mean, his rookie year, he came in midweek and they didn't really game plan very well for him. He ran 19 times. And this year, the Chicago game was in a monsoon. So, that wasn't really his fault either. And, I think it was, 1 or 2 more games before he got hurt. So he really didn't get much of an opportunity. But I'm sorry, this other guy is just, you can't argue with what's going on. I mean, if they beat Dallas, they're in the NFC Championship game with the very last pick in the draft. And it's not like it's just the defense. I mean, they're scoring 30 points a game. He's doing better than any of the, he's the third quarterback this year, and he's playing the best. So you can call it system, you can call it the weapons, all you want. But, I mean, when he has to make a play, he's making it.
And by the way, for those people out there who go, oh, you have to go with pedigree for quarterbacks, I would argue you don't. I would argue the small school, unknown, random draft picks do better historically than top picks, right? For everybody goes, oh, Peyton Manning was a top pick. Okay, Tom Brady was 199 overall. Whose career would you rather take right now?
And Peyton Manning, I mean, let's look who was number 2 the year Peyton Manning was picked. So
right. Ryan Leaf, who spent more time in prison than on a football field. Sorry, I love the dude. He's made a hell of a comeback now. I like his analysis on radio, but that's just a fact, right? You have Kurt Warner's in the Hall of Fame. He was an undrafted dude who was bagging groceries, right? There's several, like Geno Smith wasn't that highly drafted, if I remember correctly, or am I misremembering?
I try to just forget that the Jets had Geno Smith. So.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of people should forget that they played for the Jets too, but
he was a second-round pick.
Oh, okay. So then, not terrible there. But I'm with you. I would say Trey Lance should be the backup or change of pace guy if you want to get cute with things. But we've seen running quarterbacks. I don't know when this trend is going to stop, but it probably should. Jalen Hurts missed the last few games of the year because he's a rushing quarterback, got hurt. Kyler Murray can't stay on the field. Rushing quarterback, also tiny, can't stay healthy, right? Lamar Jackson has now missed 2 playoff runs for the Ravens and will probably be off the team because he can't stay healthy because the only thing he can do is run. So maybe, just maybe, these college rushing quarterbacks are not the guys you should be building your teams around. Just saying.
I think the ability to run is important, but being the lion's share of your ability is not the way to go.
There's a difference between
mobile and a running quarterback.
Like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, right? Josh Allen put up 700 plus rushing yards this year. He's a big dude. Patty Mahomes kind of runs as a last resort to evade sacks, and if something breaks out, and he got the 400 something rushing yards this year, I think. But these dudes also put up 4,000-yard passing seasons. They put up 40-something passing touchdowns. They're not like Lamar Jackson, the year he won the MVP, I'm not even sure cracked 30 passing touchdowns. He won the MVP because he couldn't be stopped because nobody had an answer for a rushing quarterback that was like that. But his overall passing, not great.
Let's move from talking about Brock Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft, to someone who was the first pick in the draft a couple years ago, Trevor Lawrence. And what an incredible comeback by Jacksonville against the Chargers. And it just shows that you can never count a team out in football, especially after just one half. Now they go up against the Chiefs. They're 8.5-point dogs. I'm trying to find a way in my mind to see how they can beat the Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs are just going to be too much offensively for them, and they don't play good enough defense to be able to limit them.
Well, maybe. Okay. So, since the Jags lost to the Chiefs in, I believe it was week 10 of the season, the Jags were 1-6 in the 7 games. Like, from that, go 7 games prior, they were 1-6. Okay. Since then, they're 7-1. That game flipped around their season. And by the way, everybody said, oh, their defense, not great. If you go back 4 games, 16 quarters of football, in 14 of those quarters, they allowed 25 total points. They allowed 3 to the Jets in an entire game. They allowed 3 to the Texans in an entire game. And they allowed 3 to the Chargers in the last 2 quarters last week. Right? 2 quarters.
Can I counter that? Can I counter that quickly?
Yes.
That game against the Jets had horrible weather in it. It was horrible. It was downpour. Texans don't put up any offense.
I mean, you want to counter that? The Texans played them toe-to-toe earlier in the season.
They're not a great offense. They're not a good offense, though. You're right about the Chargers. The Chargers I can't obviously deny.
Okay, I mean, true. The Texans are not a good offense. That is fair. I will grant you that. However, they went toe-to-toe with the Jags earlier in the season. In fact, they beat the Jags.
They did play the Chiefs tough, and I believe the Cowboys tough, but on the whole, not a great season.
I mean,
yes. They had that stretch where they were playing everybody tough, and they beat, not that beating the Colts was any great thrill at the end, but they had their moments.
I will also say that watching every Chiefs game for the last, 5 years, whatever, I'm in their market, so I watch them every Sunday. It's the game we get. The Chiefs played to their opponent's level every single week. Every single week. So if they come in thinking, oh, the Jaguars got lucky for 2 quarters against the Chargers and they slow play it. We saw the Chiefs team that won the Super Bowl went down, 24-0 to the Titans in their first playoff game that year and then came back and won 51-24 or 51-27, and nobody paid attention to the fact that they sucked nuts the first half.
Listen, I'm hoping for a big game. I'm hoping for a good game.
I think it's going to be back and forth. I have it like 31-27.
53 total, guys. 53.
It's not shocking. I mean, the Jaguars and Chargers just put up 61 points last week.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars will be able to score on the Chiefs. I just fear like at some point they're going to start trading field goals for touch. Like they can't kick field goals and have a chance. Like they have to score touchdowns. It's one of those games. Or if if it's 14-6 and the Jaguars have kicked 2 field goals, they're in a lot of trouble.
If Trevor Lawrence throws 4 more picks this game,
that's it. Yeah.
Like, there's no heck. Even if he throws 2, it may be done. Because if the Chiefs get Frank Clark back, the run defense is an entirely different animal than when he's not on the field. So this, to me, is probably the closest game of this weekend.
Interesting. More than the Bengals and the Bills?
I think the Bills will be riding high on the emotion of the game. They get this game in their stadium as opposed to in Cincinnati. I haven't heard any rumblings, but what if DeMar Hamlin's in the building?
Oh, which I think he will be.
Which I think, I mean,
Since he's been in the facilities, they say the last few days, you have to figure he'll be
so
there.
How is he not sitting with the owner and get shots on the big screen? And I think the Bengals are going into a trap. I really do. I know Joe Burrow is fantastic and that offense is great, but if you can stop Jamar Chase, it drastically limits Joe Burrow, as we've seen in the past. I honestly don't think that game's going to be that close.
And then besides, because we have this situation here, the AFC Championship is automatically played at the neutral site because we have this situation now with the Bengals and the Bills playing each other.
Yes.
So, and that's in what? It's in Atlanta, right? I believe it's a neutral site there.
So no Chick-fil-A for you.
Oh, that's right.
Well, no, I'll tell you why else, Selz. Sunday. That's when the games are.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. I thought for some reason
they're not open on Sundays, and they said we're not breaking it, even though we're going into an NFL football stadium.
And
like Chick-fil-A, is it really that much better chicken than any? Like why?
I mean, the waffle fries are awesome.
Pickle juice, which I think is a fantastic idea.
No, if it was in pickle juice, I wouldn't eat it. It's just better.
Dude, and they do. They brine their chicken in pickle juice.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, and I don't like pickles,
That's
and I love
why
Chick-fil-A.
It's so much more tender.
Yes.
I did not know
because the vinegar tenderizes the chicken.
Interesting. Well, I don't like pickles, but I love Chick-fil-A.
That's why if you brine a turkey for Thanksgiving, or you're going to brine a chicken or whatever, you put vinegar or apple cider vinegar or some acidic juice like orange juice or apple juice in there, because it's acidic and it will naturally tenderize the meat. So
learn something new every day.
You're good with chemistry, Selz.
I failed chemistry in high school, but now it's coming in handy.
That's a bit. I can't see Matt Selz failing a class. I see Matt Selz getting a B on the paper.
I got a B.
This is incorrect. I got a B. It's not allowed.
I don't remember Avogadro's number or molecular mole conversion or whatever.
I just know that AU is gold and AG is silver.
There you go.
So what's
Fe is iron.
Oh, ferrous. Nice. Is it?
Yes, because iron is ferrous, hence Fe.
Oh, okay. I didn't know why.
Which is why if you have an induction cooktop, you can use cast iron without any problem, because the more ferrous a pan is, the better it works on induction.
There's no way you failed chemistry. Get out of here with this.
Yeah, no.
I got a D, man, because I didn't want to do the homework, dude. That's why. Tests were fine. The homework counted for 60%.
You knew everything about an Erlenmeyer flask, Selz, okay? You definitely did.
Nope.
Okay, maybe the Florence flask.
Bunsen burners were fun, though.
Yeah, I actually got an achievement in chemistry award. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, man. Science was never my jam, and then all of a sudden in high school, biology, I just sucked at. But earth science came, and it's oh, okay. The different rocks, the weather stuff. I got really into the contour lines, and I like looking at weather graphs now. I'm a stupid nerd. I really am.
Oh, I like earth science too. That was fun. And physics, which is really more of a math class than a science class.
The one thing I liked about physics was that you made the roller coaster, a lot of physics class. You made that, what was it, Selz? That roller coaster where you'd have a rubber car and you would push it and then the momentum would take it the whole way.
Yeah, you had to figure out where the stopping, but how big of a second hill you could make before it wouldn't go. My college professor in physics shot himself across the room on a cart powered by a fire extinguisher. To prove opposite and equal reactions.
I only had to take 2 years of science to graduate, so I took earth science and biology, and I quit before I went to chemistry. So
good for you, man.
I had to take chemistry in college, but it was chemistry 101. So basically, the professor just tried to light stuff on fire at his desk, oh, see if this has alcohol in it, and that was the whole class. So that was good. I passed that one, but man, science was not for me at all.
I mean, I just don't understand the point of the mole conversions or what it all if you explain to me what I'm going to use it for in real life, then maybe it'll stick. But
yeah, the conductor stuff, I never understood what went into that and everything. So it's physics. Geez, the roller coaster was fun to make. Game that I'm really looking forward to, guys. Giants, Eagles, so awesome and so deserving that this NFC East division, which was made fun of for previous years, the NFC East, you've got 4 teams remaining from the NFC, 3 of them from this division. Giants and the Eagles, and all everybody's talking about is the freaking Boston Scott anytime touchdown.
I have to turn. I'm not in the car very much, but obviously I listen to local radio here, and I can't wait for the Giants to get blown out on Sunday or Saturday because these fans are just friggin' delusional. Holy God. Okay, they beat the Vikings, who we've called paper coming into the playoffs all year with the god-awful worst defense possible. And okay, Daniel Jones had a really good game. Okay, they barely beat Philly. They beat one team all year long by more than one score, and it was the Colts, who lost to the Texans the next week. Danny Jones had 15 passing touchdowns this year. I know he had 7 rushing, but do we not remember his 48-22 when they played the Eagles the first time? Like, even Tiki Barber, who does a local show here, was like, Daniel Jones is in a better condition to win this game than Jalen Hurts, or better prepared. And I'm like, what are you talking? Unless Jalen Hurts' shoulder falls off, which, I don't know how healthy he is, but he had a full practice yesterday.
He's not on the injury report.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, I'm sorry, he's not that good. Their receivers are terrible. Their defense is okay. I mean, Philly is better than them at every position than running back. I think this is going to be at least a 14-point game. Selz, you said the Jaguars you thought was going to be the closest game, so I'm figuring you're kind of in my court on this one.
Oh, yeah, this isn't going to be close. It's going to be over by halftime. Sorry, Monday, but like...
Unless Hurts is not healthy, and we'll know right away.
The one thing from keeping me from thinking that this game is just going to be a breeze by for Philly. I don't know how healthy Jalen Hurts truly is.
And it's in Philly, which, by the way, is a nice home field advantage compared to like some other places.
I'm not sure Hurts has to be fully healthy for the Eagles to blow out the Giants.
I get because you can run all over the Giants. That's why.
You can run all over the Giants. They could protect Jalen Hurts by rushing him a little bit, or just giving Miles Sanders more work, or just doing shorter passes and let A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith go to work, and Dallas Goedert. I'm sorry. It was a great game by Daniel Jones. It was. It was, statistically speaking, one of the best playoff games in NFL history. Okay, congratulations. But the Vikings also made Mike White look like a Hall of Famer. That guy couldn't even finish the year on the roster, right? They made Taylor Heineke look like a freaking Hall of Famer.
Worst secondary in football. I believe that was said a couple of times during the broadcast.
They finished the year allowing at least 380 passing yards. Like, I mean, for God's sakes, Mac Jones, who can't tie his shoes properly and score, put up 370 passing yards against the Vikings, with an offense that struggled to find the oxygen tanks on the sideline all year. Like, are we really thinking, like, the Daniel Jones is better than Aaron Rodgers crap I'm seeing on Twitter is, oh my God, how big of a prisoner of the moment do you want to be? Like, you beat a team that was 13-4 and yet had a negative point differential. Like, that should tell you basically everything. Not to mention that Kirk Cousins had to orchestrate like 8 comeback drives. Also, by the way, what the hell was that play call on 3rd and 8 for the Vikings?
What, the final play or the Hawkinson play?
The final play, or 4th and 8 rather.
Yeah, short 3-yard crap pass to Hawkinson. Smart, very
like
smart.
I watched the whatever that software is that lays out the routes and the coverage that people are putting on Twitter. That's pretty sweet. But, like, if you watch it, you're like, why didn't he throw it to KJ Osborne? The guy is open for the first 7 yards of that route. And, by the way, you have a guy named Justin Jefferson. Just heave it and see what happens. Because worst comes to worst, if he doesn't catch it, you're going to get the DB for pass interference.
It's true. No, listen, I had the Giants winning that game. I thought the Giants would be able to put together, I mean, more on the lines of the Vikings, I felt like they were going to cave. Their defense, as we keep saying, their defense sucks.
Okay.
And so, like, I had the Giants there in my playoff drafts. I drafted Saquon Barkley thinking he was going to play 2 games. I'm not delusional, though. And I can only imagine, Ryan, as you're hearing Tiki Barber talk about this, Brandon Tierney's just sitting there going, Teak, what do you want, Teak?
Oh, he's like, you won't say this, but let me say this. And he just laid out all the stupid reasons why the Giants aren't going to win. And it's just like, they tied Washington, Minnesota sucks. I mean, it's just a whole nother ball game. They got smoked earlier, like 26 points they lost by. And I know the Giants played their.
Bad Fox cut the game and went to another blowout that was just smaller.
I mean, the Giants' best receiver couldn't hold the Eagles' second receiver's balls. Let's be honest.
Don't make fun of Richie James.
I mean, Isaiah Hodgins is a nice story with some nice touchdowns, but come on.
You know why I like calling Richie James the super freak. Little respect to Rick James right there. I always call him, and Ronas is always like, whenever I say it, like Ronas still hasn't figured it out yet.
Really?
And I say, and he's just kind of like, he gives me like a little bit of a look, like, why are you calling him a super freak? And I just kind of keep moving on. So I doubt he's listening to this podcast.
He's a former 49er. I like Richie James, but let's be honest. He would be on most teams' practice squads, or at least fourth receivers.
I mean, when it comes to beating Philly or where you can get to them, is it on the ground? Is it short passes to Saquon? Can the Giants do anything to at least exploit them to keep this game close and maybe even force Jalen Hurts to throw a little bit more?
I mean, their secondary is really good with James Bradbury and Darius Slay. Avonte Maddox is at least a decent slot corner. And you can run on him more than you can pass on him, but I don't know. I don't know if Daniel Jones is going to have to do stuff with his legs. But their defense is just really good. I mean, if we talked about San Francisco being the best, I mean, the Eagles, if not the best, they've got to be top three. I mean, they're just really good on all three levels. They brought in more guys at the trade deadline. I mean, their defense is stacked. As I was saying, I don't fear the Cowboys. I certainly fear the Eagles if the 49ers and the Eagles advance, again, barring Hurts' shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are second to the Niners in yards allowed per game, and it's by literally 1 yard difference. The Niners are allowing 300.6, and the Eagles are allowing 301.5. So they're right there, yards allowed per play. The Eagles are allowing less than 5 yards a play, whether or not it's through the air or on the ground. They're allowing the least amount of passing yards, the least amount of passing yards per attempt. Like, this is a stacked defense. Yes, you can pass to running backs. They're giving up 5 catches a game to running backs right now, but those catches aren't going anywhere. So, like, does it really matter that Saquon's going to have 5 catches? He could have 5 catches for 10 yards. Like, it's not going to help you. And, oh, by the way, let's not forget, didn't the Daniel Jones long run a few years ago where he tripped over his own 2 feet happen in Philadelphia? So even when the Eagles defense gets beat, the turf has their back. And James Bradbury would love nothing more than to eliminate the Giants from the playoffs, given that they gave up on him and the Eagles signed him.
What prop do you guys like better? I'm looking on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. Jalen Hurts over 50.5 rushing yards. Miles Sanders over 66.5 rushing yards. I was looking at props this morning, and I was trying to figure some stuff out a little bit, and those are two that obviously stood out.
I'll go Sanders just because of the uncertainty of Hurts' shoulder, and maybe they'll have him run a little bit less.
Right, Sanders has to be thinking that he's going to be getting 15 to 18 carries in this game.
I hope so. I'm in a playoff fantasy league with Colton and Wolfman I drafted. I have Miles Sanders, so hoping for a big game.
Let's put it this way. The last time these two played, right, week 14, the 48-22 beatdown, Miles Sanders had 17 carries for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Giants not the best rush defense.
No.
Well,
I mean, they both could be over, but just because, like I said, a little bit of the uncertainty over the shoulder, I'll give Sanders the nod.
And if we want to go with, okay, well, what happened in week 18, because that's the closest to what these two teams were, and the Eagles beat them 22-16. Miles Sanders didn't really play. They really only played folks for like a half, and so he had 33 there, but he only got the ball 11 times. So I would still take the over on Miles Sanders.
So pretty much on the Family Times podcast here, if we're thinking that there could be a possible upset from these 4 games, I mean, is it Chiefs-Jaguars, Selz?
I think it's Chiefs Jaguars.
Wow. Little hot take. I like that. That's Ryan. That's imagine that. I mean, imagine the Jaguars take out the Chiefs.
That would be fantastic.
It would be. It would be.
Not only am I not a Chiefs fan, thanks to the Super Bowl a few years ago, that certainly would open up the door a little, the path a little bit easier. Hopefully, if my team were to.
And it's a neutral site for the Jaguars too.
This week they're playing neutral site.
Well, no, I'm saying that if the Jaguars win, then and whoever they play from the Buffalo-Cincinnati game, that would become a neutral site. That's
with the Bills, with the Bills and the Bengals playing each other in the AFC title game. It's guaranteed to, or in this week, one of them is going to make the AFC Championship, so it's guaranteed to be played in Atlanta.
So there's no home field. So if Jacksonville wins, there's no home field advantage for whoever the opposition is. That's huge for them.
Yes.
By the way, nothing would have made me happier, and I tweeted this out, than to see Jack Collinsworth pushed into the pool in Jacksonville. Would you ever buy those tickets to like go in the pool during the game?
No.
What about you, Ryan?
No.
How clean can that thing be?
Not very. I don't think it's very clean. I don't think it's very clean at all. Guys, let's get to the family table here. Talk about one of the things that we're going to be bringing as we do every single week on Family Times here. Selz, what are you bringing to the family table?
What I'm bringing to the table, and this is no disrespect to Darren Ravel, though his tweets are mostly heinous. Can we stop tweeting the stupid bets people are making? Like, it does a disservice to everybody. One, everybody gets jealous that people have a crap ton of money to just throw away on stupid bets. Two, in the states in which sports betting is not legal yet, lawmakers look at those things and go, see, if we allow this to happen, we allow stupidity and people to get themselves in trouble with betting, and this is why we are against it in the first place, and there's no reason for it. I saw a guy bet $1.4 million at halftime of the Chargers-Jags game for the Chargers to win, up 27-0. His return on that would have been $11,400. Now, is $11,400 nice? Yes. I would gladly, if somebody wanted to hand me $11,400 today, I would gladly take it. Would I work basically 3 months of the year for that? Sure. Yeah. Would I bet $1.4 million to get 1% back? No. No. Doesn't matter if it hit or not. It's just a stupid bet. And there are bets like this being made all the time. We talked before the podcast last week of a guy betting, I don't know, maybe it was on the podcast last week, a guy betting a couple $100,000 on the Niners being 4.5-point dogs to the Seahawks to win like $8,000. That's a stupid bet. Like, congrats on having that much money to just throw away on a whim and go hunt for a stupid line that gives you actual money back. But we need to stop publicizing these bets. It's a bad look for betting. It's a bad look for a lot of people who get jealous over things they don't have, which is a lot of people. And it's going to be detrimental to states that don't have it yet. There are plenty of states where it's not yet legal. Yes, the Supreme Court said sports betting is legal in the U.S. like 4 years ago. It takes a while for these things to, I mean, Ohio, one of the biggest states possible, just came online like literally 19 days ago. Okay, my state is building a casino, but it's not legal here for another year. So, and there's still some rules to figure out here. And I'm sitting there going, well, are we going to ruin the fun for everybody? So we just stop publicizing stupid bets, please.
But it gets the eyes. That's the thing. He gets all the eyes on his tweet cells. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, well, so do his typos. So, you know.
That too. That certainly does happen. Ryan, What about you, sir? What are you bringing to the table? We know, as always, you know the bit. As always, you've got nothing. But here we go. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, for those of us, I guess, where it gets cold, and I don't know about you guys, but I hate the winter more than anything in the world. So this is like the first time where
or the New York terrestrial sports talk radio?
No, more than that. So, yes, even more than that. Tuesday, we go back to the sun setting at 5 p.m., which I used to really like when I worked at an office job because, okay, you're not leaving work when it's dark anymore. We don't work traditional jobs, so we don't necessarily have to deal with that. But I know a lot of people out there do. So it's kind of like, it's nice. It's like the first tent pole of like getting out of winter is the sun starting to set at 5 o'clock again. So you're not leaving work when it's still dark. So that is this coming Tuesday for those. Mark your calendars for people who hate winter like I do.
So the moon is literally providing the silver lining?
Yes.
I can't stand snow, man.
I
can't
either.
It's like we're not in elementary school anymore where we get the day off here. It's just, luckily we work from home, which is great. But not a lot of, for instance, in radio industry, the show goes on. You got to get there. I used to have to trudge in snow and walk over a mile to work from the nearest indoor metro station in D.C. because of this stupid snow that slows down everything. It's not cute. I'm not, when people are like tweeting out pictures, it's snowing. That does nothing for me. It totally turns me off. I hate it. It's a distraction. It becomes a job. You have to shovel it. Then the ice comes out, right? And we were talking about that with the ice before. And then you're walking very, very carefully for the next week until the black ice melts. And it's so stupid and frustrating and does nothing but cause agita to me.
Right. Okay. So you have a point with the ice. I'm with you there. But my viewpoint on the snow is a little different than yours because the temps here get to the point where they can kill you. So if it's going to get that cold, it may as well snow because then you can go outside and you can play like with kids and dogs and stay warm. If it's just going to be like 2 weeks ago, it was 40 below zero here. And no, that's not an exaggeration. It was literally colder than the North Pole. It didn't snow. So you just got to put on 7 layers so you don't freeze to death. And then you can't, like, if you have to go out and do stuff, it still sucks. It's cold. But if it was snowing, I could at least go have a snowball fight and stay warm or have fun with the kids. Otherwise, they're just cooped up in the same house driving me nuts, and somebody's not making it out of that situation.
Mine are too old for that. Fences are too young for that. So
right, you're stuck.
We're all in different situations.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I still have to shovel, which sucks, but
it's awful.
It's not as bad now that I don't have to leave. I mean, my wife still does, but it's like 2 miles away, so it's not like she has to go far, and she can also work from home. But yeah, I hate winter. I hate the snow. I can't wait for like April.
Well, I'm glad you live in upstate New York.
I know. I was born here. I never got a chance to leave. Someday, when the kids are grown, I'm getting the frig out of here.
I was in Florida last weekend, and it wasn't the warmest, but I said, I said to my wife, I was just like, isn't this nice? Like most of the year, it's nice. It's warm. You don't have to worry about really anything. Okay, it's nothing an air conditioner.
You don't have to worry about it. You have to worry about alligators,
hurricane. Okay, you get the occasional big hurricane. Okay, what would
the state is filled with lunatics.
Okay, every state is filled with. I grew up in New York. Do you think New York doesn't have its fair share of lunatics?
Hey, I'm only kidding. The only thing, because my wife did live in Savannah, Georgia for a long time, and her counter will be, in the summer, it's so hot you can't leave. So it's no different than the winter here. It's 95 degrees in October. It's 95 degrees in March. So it's like it's too hot to do anything that doesn't involve air conditioning, just like it's too cold to do anything here.
Also, the other thing is, like, if you go to a place that doesn't really have seasons, it just, like, in my opinion at least, it just gets boring. Like, it's the same every day.
That's
like,
that's what my wife's argument is.
Pull out a jacket. Right. Apparently, my dog has spotted something.
No, because you're a dog. Because your dog agrees with me. Because snow is stupid.
Definitely. Snow is stupid.
It's awful. It's like, at least when it's 95 degrees outside, okay, you keep yourself hydrated, then you could go you could go mini golfing in 95 degrees if you stay hydrated.
I mean, sure.
The 90th day in a row.
Going to Florida.
I can't go mini golfing when there's 8 inches of snow on the ground.
I mean, actually, I can, because we have indoor mini golf places here, and
that's indoor, but you can't get there because you're gonna have a foot and a half of snow. You can't get there
because the places where it snows, they get rid of it on the road so that the businesses can stay open.
Yeah, and then it doesn't stop snowing. That's the problem.
I just need seasons.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I can't. I mean, maybe you can, and you can still. Is it really that enjoyable to grill? I've done it before. I put videos up on the site of me snowing if grilling in the snow. It's not fun.
I mean, I don't grill burgers in the snow. If I'm grilling in the snow, it's going to be like a long cook. So I get it set up, put it on there. It cooks for 2-3 hours, and then I go out, take it back. I'm outside for like 10 total minutes when I'm grilling in the snow.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I like being out there when I'm grilling. That's part of the experience. Put the temp.
I like eating the food and the flavor of the food.
I get that, but the process. Ryan, are you? I feel like we've asked you this before. Are you a grill guy?
Yeah, I haven't done it a lot lately. I've graduated to like getting better at cooking indoors too. Like I never used to. I used to only be able to grill. It's the only cooking skill I have. But in the last few years, I've experimented more, and I feel like you guys completely have gone past me from the grilling perspective.
Yeah. By the way, Selz, when you make garlic parm fries, you got to be able to see the Parmesan cheese on the fries. That's the big.
I mean,
you don't see the cheese. That's my one knock against those amazing looking fries that you sent us that you made. You got to have you got to be able to see the parm for the parm fries.
I mean, I put more on after I plated it.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's deceiving. Looks can be
also,
deceiving.
By the way, smash burgers are outstanding.
Nice.
And smash burgers.
Selz falling into the grill everything gang with me. I love that.
Yeah, literally nothing easier for smash burgers.
You know, I'll bring food to the family table too, because this is awesome. Talked about it on Better Sports Network yesterday. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but back in Canton, Ohio, when we were at the fantasy football convention, me, Ronus, and this other guy, we went and we were hungry. We were starving. We saw John and Pemba got Buffalo Wild Wings, and we were just starving after that. He got his wings, ran up to his hotel room because I was like, oh. But we ended up going to Waffle House. It was around midnight. We went to Waffle House. I'd never been there. I ordered a Texas bacon cheesesteak sandwich.
You've never been to a Waffle House?
I had never been to a Waffle House.
Been on this earth for more than 30 years and you've never been to a Waffle House?
I had never been to a Waffle House.
Okay.
So I guess you guys didn't know this. So I had never been to a Waffle House. So when I went with Ronus, and I didn't order a waffle because I'm not a breakfast for dinner guy. I've never have been. I like egg whites and stuff like that. I can make a good egg white omelet, very good at making omelets, but I don't love pancakes and all that kind of stuff. I'm just not that into it. So when I went to the Waffle House, I got the Texas bacon cheesesteak. And for months since then, Ronus on the air, off the air has been killing me for it. What does Trevor Lawrence get, Mr. Millionaire, after a comeback win in his first playoff win? Yes, it's late. Yes, not every restaurant is open probably at around midnight, but it's a Saturday night. He could have gotten probably just about anything he wanted in that city of Jacksonville. But instead, he goes to Waffle House and he gets the Texas bacon cheesesteak. So what I'm bringing to the table is if you go to Waffle House and I just smash my hand on one of my laptops, get the Texas bacon cheesesteak. It's freaking awesome. And it's not it's just because it's steak at a Waffle House. Don't let that deter you from getting it. It's awesome. You'll house the entire sandwich in about 3.5 minutes. Get hash browns covered in cheese.
Yep. By the way, did you know that FEMA has a Waffle House index?
No.
Yes. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, informally has a Waffle House index.
Why?
Because Waffle Houses don't close. They are 24-hour, 365 restaurants. So, if a Waffle House closes, FEMA knows the hurricane is bad that a Waffle House would close, because there have been plenty of hurricanes that have hit the South, home of most of the Waffle Houses. And Waffle House doesn't close. In fact, they act as shelters sometimes for hurricane and flooding victims. So there's an informal Waffle House index that, based on the amounts of Waffle Houses closing, FEMA knows how bad the hurricane is.
That's America for you right there. Waffle in a nutshell.
He's Matt Selz, the Schwab of Fantasy Alarm. Give him a follow on Twitter at the Selzman. Ryan Hallam, he's the Jeff Probst of Fantasy Alarm. Give him a follow on Twitter at Fighting Chance. I'm Justin Fensterman at Fensty Sports on Twitter. And as we always say, a family that sticks together wins together.